My abandoned oil town becomes a new Frontline introduction. What kind of experience is having an abandoned oil town in the West? At first, Xing simply wanted to provide some convenience for hikers and camping enthusiasts who drove northwest. However, from then on, one cannot accept it. The small stall has been upgraded into a unique convenience store with a unique style. The earthen pot stove has been used to cook instant noodles, and it has become an authentic beef noodle restaurant that can provide heating. The shack has also become a unique large hotel in China that can overlook the deep starry sky, and the tire repair point has been upgraded into a gas station and repair station. Later on, the small town has unknowingly gained the scale of a small county town. 6-line, 5-line, 4-line, 3-line. Several years later, it became the only new first-tier city in the northwest Gobi Desert. Chapter 1. He only held on to the greenhouse flowers for a few days. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Longing for loneliness. Are you going to the vast Gobi to see the starry sky and cleanse your soul? Okay. Satisfy you. This time, I will give you 1 year directly, including Suqing Province, Jioga City, Ase County, Bingu abandoned oil town, and 500,000 yuan in cash. Give you 1 month's preparation time, and the agreement will officially begin to be executed in 1 month. Stay over there for a full year, and from now on we'll listen to you. But if you can't persist, just obediently come back and marry Susu, have children, and take over. Don't give me any more presumptuous remarks about free hearts, poetry, distant places, and the mundane nature of life. Additionally, take a look at the agreement first, and if you have no objections, sign it. But you have to think carefully. Once this agreement is signed, you must abide by it. If you can't stay there and then turn back and refuse to take over, then don't blame your father for not showing affection. Blue Star, Xiaogua, Hong Kong City, in a well-equipped office building on the Second Ring Road, a middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes pushed a thick document to a young man wearing a simple T-shirt and with shawl hair. Oil Town Lease Agreement. The young man glanced at the file name on the coffee table, his lips curled up in disdain, and then decisively picked up a pen and signed another agreement. After signing, without hesitation, the young man casually picked up his travel bag on the sofa, shook his hair, and left the office, leaving only a man and a woman across from the sofa. Bang! As the door closed, the middle-aged woman on the sofa looked worried at the man who had just spoken. Lao Su, are you really good at this? This abandoned town of Ice Lake Oil has not many people for 100 miles now. It's just a deserted area. If anything happens to him, don't worry. I just wanted him to know that poetry, distance, and self-media are completely different things, so I specifically found this place. As expected, he will call us a few days after going there. Waved his hand, the middle-aged man confidently signaled to the woman not to worry. But you are aware of his personality, he is very stubborn, and if he insists on persevering. Don't worry, I have arranged for Lao Lu to have a few people quietly follow him. If there is really a problem, I will definitely be able to pick him up as soon as possible. Well, that's okay. His current state really needs to be taught a lesson by reality. You said Su is so beautiful and has a good personality. He doesn't even see others or even take photos. It's really hard to justify it. Silence for a moment, the worry on the middle-aged woman's face gradually disappeared, and finally she nodded. You don't have to worry about Su's matter. With 2 adults in charge, he can't escape. Sigh. The sun rises and sets, time flies by, it's already January in the blink of an eye. The blue star in July is as hot as Earth, especially in the vast desert region of the northwest where the surface temperature is much higher than other places. Noon, 12 o'clock, standing by the roadside and looking around, Xing was devastated, with ruins and abandoned schools and hospitals at the end of the road everywhere. Apart from helplessness, Xing was also helpless. Although parents' love is suffocating and selfish, I can understand you, but you don't have to be so extreme. An hour ago, Xing, who was originally watching the stock market on Earth, suddenly turned black in front of him. The next moment he woke up, he became Su Xing in this world. At this point, he had already absorbed all the memories here and understood the current situation. Su Xing, male, 22 years old, handsome and charming. He was born into a medical family, and under the arrangement of his parents, he began learning to recognize characters at the age of 2 and foreign languages at the age of 3. At the age of 7, he had already completed high school courses and began to be exposed to modern medical theory. At the age of 15, he was sent abroad and studied modern medicine at Harvard University, the top medical university on Blue Star. At the age of 18, he completed all undergraduate courses and pursued a master's degree. After 5 years, he graduated with a doctoral degree and returned to China. Over the past 20 years, Su Xing has become the child of others, envied by everyone, but Su Xing himself doesn't even have any personal time or space. He has strict arrangements for drinking milk, going to bed, and getting up. Even when Su Xing was 20 years old, he thought nightclubs were places for night meetings. According to the arrangement of Su's father and mother, next, Su Xing will go to the top private hospital under Su Shi Group to become a trainee, marry a girl named Qin Susu, and gradually take over the entire Su Shi medical group. However, at this moment, Su Xing's patience either reached its limit or his heart had actually collapsed, and he began to confront his family in various ways. He was unwilling to accept their arrangements, and that was when the scene before him began. This suffocating parental love is indeed difficult to accept, but you don't have to cut off your own path, kid. This is not just about planning to live here for a year, it feels like you want to stay here for a long time and completely separate from your family. Awakening, Su Xing glanced at the large pickup truck behind him and the carriage full of supplies, and couldn't help but sigh again. Supplies include tents, water, rice, noodles, grain and oil, dozens of boxes of compressed biscuits, 2 boxes of candles, portable gas stoves, solar panels, and so on. What is quite ruthless is that Su Xing secretly changed his name and applied for a new ID card before departure, and the name on the ID card is now called Su Xingchen. There is no household registration system in Xia country, and one person has one ID card, and people can leave with their ID cards, which shows his resolute attitude. Of course, this is nothing. More importantly, there is still a property ownership certificate for the abandoned oil town in front of me in the driver's cab at this moment. In memory, Su's father and mother only gave him a lease contract for this abandoned oil town, but who would have thought that this kid, without hesitation, went directly to the local authorities and used the New Year's money he had saved up since childhood to buy this town. Of course, this abandoned oil town is not worth much either. Basically, it's like buying 1 get 10 free, and all the remaining money goes towards buying a pickup truck and those daily necessities. I just received the property ownership certificate this morning, and the result is Su Xing arrived at the Blue Star. What should we do now? All the money has been made up. I touched my pocket and slowly scratched my head. He can completely accept crossing this kind of thing. The only thing he can't accept at the moment is the environment of this oil town. It's not so much an abandoned town as it's actually a desert with nothing. Forget it, let's settle down now. Let's wait for a while and see. After thinking for a moment, Su Xing walked towards the pickup truck. Although he has now integrated seamlessly with Su Xing in this world, he has now compromised with his father and mother, and then returned to inherit the medical group with a market value of nearly 100 billion. This idea was suppressed from the bottom of his heart. Having money is a good thing, but he has become accustomed to freedom on Earth. Most importantly, the suffocating family atmosphere is truly frustrating. Even if I think about it, my brain hurts. So, unless one day you have to starve to death and find no way out, you will never make a obedient string puppet. However, the place they chose is really amazing. They are determined to force people to go back. This kind of environment is not only for people without wilderness survival experience to stay for a year, but even for those top wilderness survival experts, it will probably be difficult. Climbing onto the pickup truck and taking down the outdoor tent, stand up straight, feeling the emptiness and stillness around, Xing shook his head again. To be honest, he is not timid, but looking around, he unconsciously feels a sense of fear in his heart, and even dares not go alone to the depths of the town to see what it looks like. Only on the roadside can one feel a little more at ease. Who? In thought, a gust of wind blew by. Although it was summer, the wind in the northwest was not as gentle as in the south. It was very strong and powerful, making the camping tent that had just been taken off make a loud noise. It seems like we can find a reliable shelter and make ends meet with a camping tent for 1 or 2 nights. Any more will do. Glancing at the tent, Xing turned his head and glanced at the lonely end of the road in the distance. Ice Lake Oil Town is located deep in the northwest of Xia country and used to be an oil base. At its peak, there were once 100,000 people living and working here in this small town. Later, as oil resources dried up and oil workers moved away, the town became an uninhabited area overnight. But even if there has been prosperity here, it is difficult to conceal the harsh geographical environment. Ice Lake Town is located on the Gobi Desert at the southern foot of Mount Ajin. Located on the northern edge of the Chimu Basin, with an average elevation of nearly 3,000 meters. There is very little precipitation every year, and there is also a large amount of Yadin landform around. In winter, the temperature will drop to 20.30 degrees Celsius. Now in summer, if you stay in a camping tent during winter, you will definitely freeze to death. The only thing that comforted Xing was that, the 215 National Highway of Xia Kingdom runs through the town from north to south. There is a small river 2 kilometers north of the town and a large freshwater lake called Bingu 40 kilometers east, with a good draft. Ice Lake Oil Town is also named after it. But what's good about it? Windproof, sturdy, and warm are all hard requirements. Awakening, Xing immediately began to ponder. Before coming here, he used to be a 7-star chef at a top domestic hotel, and he loved various camping activities. Whenever he had time, he would carry a backpack to travel and even climb the summit of Mount Everest. So, building a reliable shelter using the existing environment and conditions is not a big problem. Forget it, first look around and see if there's anything useful. In a moment, Xing turned around and walked towards the ruins behind the pickup truck. The pickup truck is mostly filled with food, drink, and daily necessities, except for a tent. There is no designated relationship with the shelter, so it's not enough to search for materials. Little did they know that just as Xing was planning to officially build a shelter, in the corner of an abandoned building deep in the abandoned town, 4 men dressed in earthy gray camouflage suits were gathered together to discuss something, looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. They also had 5 or 6 huge off-road travel bags by their side. Brother Lu, I just sneaked over and glanced at him. He seems to be setting up a tent. A young man looked at the man in the middle, who was about 40 years old and still had a beard. Setting up a tent. You didn't get caught by him, did you? Upon hearing this, the man instinctively turned around and glanced at the distance. The man's name is Lu Ning, and he is the leader sent by Su's father to secretly take care of and monitor Xing. In order to successfully complete the task entrusted by Su's father, he specially found 3 wilderness camping experts in a top off-road club in China this time. Since Xing drove to Bingu Oil Town, they have been quietly following behind until now. Don't worry, Brother Lu. I'm far away and I'm using an ultra-high magnification telescope. He can't even detect us. Upon hearing this, the young man quickly shook his head. Okay, since it's safe, let's just ignore him for now. We'll also set up the tent, rest, and have some food. This damn place is really... Lu Ning pursed her lips. Along the way, he never expected that there would be such a place in the world that could only appear in ghost movies. If it weren't for taking on the task, he wouldn't have wanted to stay here for a moment. Okay. By the way, Brother Lu, we brought a bit less water this time. Should we go find a water source first? While nodding, the young man pondered for a moment before saying again. Looking for a water source. No need. Xing is just a flower in the greenhouse, this time it's just a simple conflict with his parents. At most, he can persist in this damn place for a day or two and go home obediently. Upon hearing this, Lu Ning immediately waved his hand and spoke confidently. Chapter 2. Things in Ruins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Gu is also saying that even if we cannot persist in this place for a long time. On the side, another young man with a flat head spoke in agreement. The young man's name is Hishan, and he has extensive experience in wilderness survival. He has many fans on the short video platform of Zio Hishu, and even was once believed by fans that his wilderness survival ability can at least rank in the top 10 of Xiaogua. That's it, let's wait until tonight and take a look over there. Anyway, his safety cannot be compromised. Lu Ning pulled over the large travel bag beside him. They also brought a lot of things this time, which can support them for at least a week. Dingling bell however, just as Lu Ning, Hishan, and others were planning to start renovating, Lu Ning's phone suddenly rang. Take a look. Lu Ning immediately walked to the side and answered the phone, his body also instinctively bowing up. Chairman, you. However, before Lu Ning could finish speaking, a voice came over the phone. Lao Lu, what's the situation on his end now? Have you arrived in the small town yet? Chairman, I just arrived this morning and will be setting up a tent. Upon hearing this, Lu Ning quickly replied. The phone call was from Su Lang, the father of Su Xing and the chairman of Su Medical Group. Setting up a tent. How is the environment there? Silence for a moment. Su Lang's voice came again. Chairman, this place is really surrounded by ruins, there's nothing to be desired. It can't be any more desolate. I estimate that the small business can only last for 1 or 2 days at most. Subconsciously, Lu Ning turned around and said truthfully. Persist for a day or two. Okay. Then wait for good news. In the phone receiver, it was evident that Su Lang had breathed a sigh of relief. Chairman, don't worry. I will call you as soon as I have any news. But if he gets angry, you must ensure his safety and never have any accidents. Su Lang said again. You can rest assured. The Ice Lake Oil Town is very large. According to the property rights area of the abandoned houses in Su Xing's hands, the town is 2 kilometers long from east to west and 3 kilometers wide from north to south, so Su Xing was unaware that there were still 4 people hidden in the ruins deep in the town. At this moment, he was carrying an engineering shovel and arrived at a corner of a broken wall near the national highway. This is the last place he chose to stay overnight after spending almost half an hour. This ruins only has 3 earthen brick walls, and the side near the road has nothing. The area enclosed by the 3 earthen brick walls is approximately 356 square meters. The reason for choosing this place is because the earthen wall of this ruins is thick and sturdy enough, and it is right next to the national road. Additionally, behind this ruins, there is also a considerable pile of sand and soil, which can serve as a windbreak without worrying about being crushed by other abandoned walls. I don't know what this ruins used to be for. Standing in front of the abandoned wall, Su Xing rolled up his sleeves and muttered to himself. Although the earthen brick wall of this ruins is thick, the inside of the ruins is not smooth, with various residual garbage, large pieces of stuck waste adobe, collapsed wood, and sand piled up all over the ruins. If you want to stay overnight here, you must clean up all the garbage inside. Puff. In a moment, Su Xing arrived at the corner where there was relatively little garbage in the ruins. The dust was flying and he felt that there were still many hard things to deal with below, which was very difficult. It seems that before cleaning up the sand, we need to first remove the large items inside. Otherwise, it will be a waste of energy and inefficient. Wait for the dust to disperse, Pooh. Taking a sip of the sand and dust that had just been sucked in, Su Xing frowned and stood up. Although Su Xing is a top chef who is very particular about food and drink, his goal for himself today is to create a sustainable camping site. Therefore, I won't waste time setting up a stove, boiling water, and cooking today, and I won't do anything else. Get up. Just say it and do it. Su Xing immediately put down the engineering shovel and began to clean up the large pieces of adobe that were still stuck together with bare hands. Wait, this is the old wooden beam. However, not a few adobe pieces were lost. Su Xing looked down again, but her eyes lit up. I saw a wooden pile head with a diameter of 30.40 centimeters exposed under the adobe, and the pile head did not appear to have decayed much. In my memory, in the 1970s and 1980s, houses were built with wooden beams and rafters, and some of these beams and rafters were specially treated to prevent decay. I think it must be because the original residents of the small town left their houses in good condition, but after years of disrepair and collapse, the wooden beams and rafters were all crushed underneath. Not bad. Not bad. It's a good thing, and it can be used for both fire and other purposes. Besides wooden beams, there might be other things. Awakening, Su Xing added a lot of energy and immediately began cleaning the adobe along this wood. The supplies he brought this time included a complete set of various tools, and he had also dabbled in some carpentry work when he was on Earth. It is not to be said that he is proficient in various mortise and tenon joints, but he can do simple beds and tables. 1 minute, 2 minutes in a blink of an eye, more than 2 hours passed. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, under the scorching sun, Su Xing seemed to have forgotten about the heat and fatigue, and in the end, he even started working naked. At this point, the appearance of the ruins has greatly changed from before. The originally high pile of ruins looks much flatter, and there is also a pile of wood on the outer wall of the ruins. In addition, there are many I-shaped iron nails connecting the wood. These iron nails are about the thickness of a thumb and have a rusty surface, but they can still be used. As Su Xing guessed, in addition to many wooden rafters, there are also some other things in the pile of ruins. Look for the book Garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com, especially the iron nails used on various construction sites. Clash. Get up. After throwing out another large iron nail, Su Xing stood up and patted the dust on his clothes. Either because of coming to a different world, or because of the surprise of occasionally digging out useful things while cleaning up the ruins, 2 hours of continuous labor did not feel any fatigue, and in the middle, he drank a bottle of mineral water brought with him. I even think it's okay to work for another 2 hours. The large adobe and disorderly would have already been cleaned up, so it will be much more convenient to use an engineer's shovel to clean them now. Taking a deep breath, Su Xing looked at the interior of the ruins that had already been pleasing to the eye, and a satisfied expression appeared on his face. Just now while cleaning up a corner of the ruins, I found that the red brick ground that was previously laid on the ground is still there. As long as the remaining sand and soil waste is cleared out, not to mention setting up a tent inside, even if it's setting up a bed, there's no problem with placing other things. Detected scrap that can be pawned around, and the scrap pawn system has officially started. However, as Su Xing turned and walked towards the outer wall to retrieve the military shovel, a mechanized sound suddenly sounded in his ear. What's the situation? Who? The sudden sound really startled Su Xing, especially in such a deserted place. Even if he was brave enough, he couldn't withstand the sudden sound ringing in his ears. However, before Su Xing could come to his senses, the next moment, Su Xing's ears were filled with several consecutive sounds. Ding, the system is being bound to the host. Please prepare the host for the fusion system. After the system is fused with the host, it will permanently follow the host. Chapter 3. Luxury Shelter for Wanderers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Scrap Pawn System. For a long time, Su Xing's eyes gradually regained their clarity, and at the same time, he understood what the sudden sound was and even better understood its purpose. As the name suggests, scrap pawn refers to the process of exchanging real-life scrap into pawn value in the system. The pawn value can be used to purchase new items in the system mall, but the prerequisite is that it must be scrap, less than 50% new or damaged items and various materials, before the system can collect them. As long as you silently recite the waste pawn in your heart, the pawn panel will appear in front of you. On the system mall panel, there is a wide range of luxury items ranging from lighters worth 1 pawn to those worth millions or millions of pawns, and even tree seedlings, vegetable seedlings, small animals, and so on. Compared to the supplies prepared on the pickup truck, the things in the system are simply not too complete. Overall, except for the living, any system in this world can be purchased with pawn value. Not to mention that, the scrap pawn system also has a redemption function. If you want the original item within a month, you only need to pay 1% of the storage fee and the original pawn price to redeem it. With this thing, maybe we can really persist in this small town for a year. I carefully felt it. Xing, who had completely integrated with the system, instinctively looked at the wooden and I-shaped nails piled on the other side of the ruins. Just now, the pawn system has estimated the pawn value for this pile of scrap. The cleaned main beam can be exchanged for 200 pawn values, while the other wooden rafters can be exchanged for a total of 100 pawn values. That pile of iron nails can be exchanged for a total of 30 pawn values. Overall, there is not much difference between the pawn value that can be obtained and the price offered for external waste collection. The pricing of new items in the mall is also similar to that outside. A brand new wooden beam inside costs 2,000 pawn value, one requires 100 pawn value, and the pile of iron nails requires 400 pawn value. Of course, most importantly, if you exchange goods in the scrap pawn system later, the system will deliver the items to you in the most reasonable way in the world, such as express delivery, where they are buried, and so on. In this way, outsiders are completely unaware of the existence of systems. System, exchange all of it for pawn value. Think for a moment. Xing attempted to give the system a command with his mind. Although these waste materials are useful, it now seems that the pawn value is more useful. Speaking 1,000 words, the new is always better than the old. Besides, if you really want to use these waste materials in the future, they can also be redeemed. In addition, there must be many wooden beams and iron nails in other ruins in this ruins, so you can dig them again later. Ding, the system has detected that the waste collected by the host can earn a total of 330 pawn values. May I ask if the host is pawning it? After pawning, the host can redeem the item 1 month later, and the item will be permanently reclaimed by the system. The system responds quickly. As soon as Xing's thoughts fell, the sound of the system rang out again, and at the same time, it appeared that no one else could see the mall panel. Yes. By the way, there's a small issue with the system. Will these things suddenly disappear on the spot after the system recycles them? At the same time, Xing couldn't help but think of something and say again. Good things belong to good things. I can accept it myself. After all, I have traveled through time and there is nothing I cannot accept. Just a newcomer, I really don't want to be targeted by someone for something that cannot be explained by science, and eventually be sent to the operating table or mental hospital as a monster to study and solve. Please rest assured that the system will recycle items in the most reasonable way and will not suddenly disappear. Soon, the system responds again. That's good. Confirm the exchange. After Xing finished speaking, he looked at the light curtain in front of him. The available pawn value on the mall panel had changed from 0 to 330, while the pile of wood and iron nails outside the ruins had not changed at the moment. It's equivalent to selling waste for 330 summer coins. It seems like over 300 summer coins won't buy much, and besides, there's nothing particularly needed right now. Xing withdrew his thoughts and refocused his attention on the ruins. This system feels like a super hypermarket that can buy and sell scrap, but it won't help clean up the ruins or turn into a beautiful maid to personally serve. Therefore, we will continue to clean up the sand and soil, and we must clean up this debris before sunset, and then officially set up camp in this area. As for the pawn value, after settling down, I will try my luck in other ruins tomorrow. There must be other abandoned items left by the previous generation of residents in this abandoned town, and it is possible to exchange them for more pawn value. Buy whatever you need then. Work. Do as you please. Xing rolled up his sleeves again. Puff. 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 Originally, Xing was not very tired, but now with the system, he is full of confidence and has an extreme desire to break free from the belief stimulation of the Su group. He didn't rest for the next 3 hours except for drinking water. So, the ruins are also undergoing visible changes to the naked eye. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, all the sand and soil in the ruins were cleared to the outside, and the original red brick ground finally came back to light decades later. Not to mention that, Xing knocked down all the less solid adobe on the 3 walls of the ruins. At 5.30, Xing pulled out some dry wild grass around and tied it up like a broom to carefully clean the debris inside, making the 356 square meter debris even and cleaner. At 6 p.m., Xing began to build a camping tent in a corner of the ruins. At 7 p.m., after the camping tent was built, Xing moved all the supplies from the pickup truck one by one into the ruins and stacked them against the other wall of the tent. Finally, I drove the pickup truck to the ruins by the road and found the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. In this way, a simple room was formed, leaving only a 1-meter entrance and exit. At night, the pickup truck could drive a little further forward to completely block the roadside. In this way, although not comparable to a normal family room, it is already considered a luxurious shelter for those homeless and super lazy people in the village. We should be able to make ends meet tonight. Tomorrow, we'll find a way to get a roof, the outermost wall, and the door. Otherwise, in case it rains or wild beasts come at night, it's a problem. Looking up at the big sun in the west, Xing finally breathed a sigh of relief. It's very late to get dark in the northwest of Xia country, and the sun still hangs high at 7 p.m. without any intention of setting. Eat something first, then go to other places to find firewood. The fire cannot be extinguished tonight. After regaining consciousness, Xing patted the soil on his body, then took a pack of compressed biscuits and crawled into the tent that had just been set up. In a blink of an eye, it was 9 o'clock in the evening. In the other corner of the abandoned town, Lu Ning got out of the tent and looked at the bright sky. He could not help roast, this damn place. It's already 9 p.m. and it's not dark yet. Xiaohe, why don't you go see what's going on at Xixing's place? Don't even leave the tent unfinished. Speaking of which, they casually found a flat place deep in the town to set up their tent at noon today. After eating and drinking, the 4 of them played poker for a long time, and finally slept soundly. I just woke up at this moment. In Lu Ning's view, it is a high probability that flowers in greenhouses like Xing will not set up tents. Chapter 4. He seems to be a professional. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brother Lu, will this be over? We'll wait until it's completely dark before. Soon, another young man emerged from the tent, and it was Hishan. Wait until it gets dark. Lu Ning turned around to look at Hishan. Even if Xing didn't set up his tent, he still had that large pickup truck to serve as a shelter, so he can definitely persevere today. Just quietly go over tonight to make sure he's safe. Hishan expressed his own thoughts. Although I don't think Su Heng can hold on for much longer in this abandoned oil town, I have to admit that the supplies brought by Su Heng are much more abundant than theirs. If he could have Su Xing's current supplies, living in this small town for a few months would not be a problem at all. Brother Lu, what Lao he said is right. Judging from that kid's state at noon, no matter what, he will grit his teeth and persist today. I estimate that the fastest he can give up will be the day after tomorrow. Soon, another young man emerged from the nearby tent. Among the 3 wilderness survival experts accompanying Lu Ning this time, besides Xing, the other 2 are named Ma Chong and Wang Xian. It was Ma Chong who spoke just now. That's what I said. I think we should go take a look now, mainly because it's getting dark and the telescope isn't very clear. In case Su Xing has some major issues that it's not easy to explain to the chairman. After some contemplation, Lu Ning waved her hand. He knew there was some truth in what the 2 of them were saying, but he was more aware of what his chairman wanted. Bringing back an injured Su Xing and a complete Su Xing was 2 different outcomes. Well. That's okay. Brother Lu, let's go over and have old Ma and old Wang search for firewood. There won't be any light at night in this place. Seeing Lu Ning persist, Xing finally nodded. This time, they expected Xing to last for up to 3 days, so they did not bring a solar charging panel, only 2 batteries that could charge their phones. Just now, I plan to go find firewood together with 4 people and then go over there to see Su Xing. Let's go. Lu Ning moved her body for a moment, then turned around and took out a high-power telescope from the tent. The oil town is very big. In order to prevent Su Xing from discovering, Lu Ning, Xing, and others hid at the farthest point of the ruins, exploring all the way until half an hour later when Lu Ning and Xing quietly arrived at the observation point they had found lying on the abandoned wall. Here with a high-power telescope, you can precisely see the area where Su Xing is active. Wait, this. What's the situation? The next moment, after Lu Ning saw the situation in the distance with a high-power telescope, his expression changed from initially calm and full to astonishment, and in the end, his eyebrows furrowed deeply. What's wrong? Brother Lu. Is it Su Xing? On the side, seeing that Lu Ning's expression was not right, Xing gave a thud and thought that Su Xing's safety had been compromised. Take a look. Lu Ning furrowed her brows and shook her head as she handed the high-power telescope to Xing. The next moment, after Xing saw the situation in the Xing activity area, his expression gradually became the same as Lu Ning's, and he even put down his telescope and rubbed his eyes for a while to determine whether he was dazzled. In addition to the debris that had already been sorted out, Su Xing was searching for firewood around the debris with a compressed biscuit in one hand, probably preparing for the night. Until after a long time, Xing slowly lowered his telescope and looked at Lu Ning. Brother Lu, how did he do it? In half a day, he cleared out a ruins and made it look like it, using a large pickup truck as a wall and a solar panel on the edge of one wall. Is he really a medical doctor who can do anything? It's not like you can't even set up a tent. Xing couldn't help but wonder. Whether it's the choice of ruins or the location of the tent, it feels like the other party is a top-notch wilderness survival expert. The most important thing is that the place Su Xing has cleaned up is cleaner, more comfortable, and safer than the place they are currently camping in. How can one not be surprised like this? From this perspective alone, Xu Heng's performance has to some extent exceeded their level. I don't know either. He looks quite professional. Lu Ning shook her head in a daze. Su Xing's actions and behavior have far exceeded his expectations. To be honest, he doesn't know what to do next. Brother Lu. So, I'll call the chairman to ask. Silence lasts for a long time. Lu Ning jumped off the broken wall and took out her phone from her pocket. Doodle after 7 or 8 rings, the phone finally answered, but before Lu Ning could speak, Su Liang's voice came first. What's going on? Lao Lu, is it that Xiao Heng can't hold on anymore? In language, I feel that Su Liang on the other end of the phone is full of anticipation. Chairman, our side is still persevering at the moment. Lu Ning paused. So, what about making a phone call? Su Liang's voice instantly became disappointed. Chairman, I just want to ask if Xiaoxing has participated in any wilderness survival training or had similar experience before. After hesitating for a moment, Lu Ning whispered. Have you participated in wilderness survival training? No. At most, I have watched some wilderness survival bloggers' video guides online. What's wrong? Su Liang's answer was very decisive. Oh, Chairman. It's okay then. I just wanted to ask how much longer the small business can hold on. Lu Ning scratched her head and instinctively turned around to take a look in the direction Su Xing was heading. Well. To tell you this, Xiaoxing has a bit of a cleanliness fetish. He used to resist outdoor survival activities, so he's just a blank slate in terms of outdoor survival. You don't have to doubt this, I can guarantee it with his character. Su Liang's voice came quickly. Understood, Chairman. As the saying goes, he won't persist for a few days when looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. He must pay attention to safety. Lu, what did the chairman say? Over here, Lu Ning just hung up the phone when Shan came over. The chairman said that Su Xing is just a blank slate in terms of survival in the wilderness. At most, he has watched some camping bloggers' videos. And he also mentioned that Su Xing has a cleanliness obsession. I wonder if it's because of this reason that he cleans up the ruins. Although Lu Ning was puzzled, her expression relaxed a lot compared to before. He is clear about what kind of person Su Liang is, but in the Su group, there is no doubt that Su Xing has no experience in wilderness survival. Just watched some tutorial videos. Did you tidy up the ruins so neatly because of cleanliness? Shan's eyes widened. As a true camping expert, he naturally knows how much water those so-called camping guide short videos are. Can Xing rely solely on this to create such a layout? He really doesn't believe it. The notion of cleanliness seems even more indescribable. You should know that some so-called top-tier bloggers may not be as thoughtful as Su Xing when they come. But now there seems to be no more suitable reason. Brother Lu, then. What should we do now? After a moment of silence, Shan couldn't help but ask softly. So, starting from tomorrow morning, we'll take turns watching him. I just saw him eating compressed biscuits, and even if the shelter is ready. If we can't eat well, we won't be able to hold on for a few days. Taking a deep breath, Lu Ning frowned and made arrangements. The only thing that met expectations was Su Xing's behavior of eating compressed biscuits. Chapter 5. Repairing External Walls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's right. I can't eat well. No matter how good the shelter is, it won't last for a few days. Shan nodded in agreement. Camping tests one's overall quality, especially food, which is of utmost importance. In terms of food, Su Xing's performance does not seem like a camping expert. If he were a true camping expert, he would probably have started cooking with a gas stove. Even if he doesn't know how to cook, he would still cook a pot of instant noodles with soup and water instead of chewing compressed biscuits. Let's go. After speaking, Lu Ning immediately turned around and walked towards his camp. In this moment, Lu Ning no longer wants to pay attention to Su Xing's safety tonight. She just wants to wait for Su Xing to come home because he can't persist in eating because he is well aware that with this shelter, Su Xing will definitely sleep comfortably and safely tonight. On the other side, Su Xing was unaware of the actions and thoughts of Lu Ning and others. As the sky gradually darkened, a small bonfire had already started in the ruins. As a top chef, how could he possibly not produce hot dishes and delicious food? It's just that I really didn't have time, so I made do with compressed cookies. Speaking of which, after setting up the tent in the afternoon, I went to the surrounding ruins to pick up some waste wood that could be burned. I also fixed a pre-purchased solar panel on the exterior wall, and then studied the waste pawn system for a while. It wasn't until now that I truly rested. Of course, the solar panel can only be considered as a temporary fixing, and a different position needs to be selected at the back. Sigh. That's it for today. We'll figure out how to fix the exterior wall tomorrow. the pickup truck can only make do with it after all. As long as the exterior wall is patched up, and wooden rafters are installed on all four walls, covered with grass and mud, it's a real small room. Looking around the earthen walls, Xing sighed slightly. During the day, he still had some simple thoughts. I originally thought that blocking the pickup truck outside could provide wind resistance. This shelter could last for at least a few days, and the matter with the exterior walls could be postponed. Let's start with a clay pot stove and have a delicious meal before proceeding. But in fact, when the sharp northwest wind blows just now, the camping tent set up in the corner will still make a loud noise, with extremely loud movements. It's neither warm nor quiet, and I can't sleep peacefully at night. Therefore, we can only make temporary changes to the plan. First, work on the exterior wall. Once it's done, work on the rest step by step. However, repairing the exterior wall is a considerable project, and it may not be possible to complete it in a day. In the next 2 days, we will probably have to continue to make ends meet and eat compressed biscuits or snacks. Xing chewed on a dry compressed biscuit. This abandoned oil town was built in the 1970s and 1980s, and the houses inside are not only paved with red bricks on the ground, but also made of old-fashioned square adobe for both the exterior walls and everything else. That is to say, the outer wall of this ruins must be built with this type of adobe to fit perfectly. It's not enough to make adobe and dry it in the sun, so we can only pick the intact and undamaged ones from other ruins, demolish the east wall, and repair the west wall. This is estimated to take a considerable amount of time. In addition to adobe, a large amount of mud is also required for repairing the exterior wall. Without mud, the exterior walls built entirely on adobe will collapse at a push, which not only is unsafe but also increases safety hazards. Water. Where are we going to get water tomorrow? There seems to be a small river north of the town. Forget it, set an alarm clock to rest for now, and we'll talk about tomorrow's things tomorrow morning. The more we think about it, the more things we'll do. Scratch your head. After chewing the last bite of compressed biscuits, Xing crawled into the tent. At this moment, he finally felt a strong sense of fatigue. The fatigue made his eyelids start to fight, and he really couldn't hold on without rest. Setting an alarm at night is to get up and add some firewood to the campfire. The night is vast, and the sky is full of stars. The night sky in the northwest is particularly deep, as if lonely, and emptiness has become synonymous with the northwest. No one knew that there were 2 more campfires in a town that had been abandoned for decades, let alone that they had brought a hint of vitality to the town. Not long after Xing got into the tent, snoring began to sound. One night without a word, the next morning at 6:30 a.m., more than 10 minutes after the fish belly white was exposed in the east, the tent at the corner of the ruins was opened again. Who? Stretching lazily, rubbing his eyes, Xing glanced at the extinguished bonfire. I slept well last night. Although there was some wind, the tent was fixed in a corner of the ruins without any safety issues. However, to be honest, the tent and sleeping bag were even better than those youth hostels that cost tens of yuan per night. That feeling is really different. Work. First, make the exterior walls into shape before considering anything else. Self-talk. Just as Xing turned around and planned to do a simple wash, he suddenly froze. The pile of wood and nails piled outside the ruins, which I didn't know when, has disappeared without a trace. Obviously, the pawn system has collected all the waste. I don't feel like I heard anything. How did I take it away? Awakening, Xing hesitated and muttered to himself, then stopped paying attention. In fact, no matter what means the system uses to retrieve those things, as long as it does not attract the attention of others, the pawn value can buy things in the system mall, and the process is actually not important. That's it. A few minutes later, Xing, who had finished washing up, arrived at another ruins with gloves and an engineering shovel, and began his true, brick-moving life. Su Xing wakes up early on this side, and on the other side of the town, Lu Ning and others also crawled out of the tent. Compared to Su Xing, the sleep quality of Lu Ning and his companions seems to be not as high as imagined. Everyone wears big black circles under their eyes. Brother Lu, this ghost place is really amazing. With his mouth curled, Xing couldn't help but start roast. They hardly slept much last night. A few people took turns lighting the campfire, and the temperature was not a problem, but the howling wind was really unbearable. So, after we have something to eat, we'll also clean up a debris wall and set up a tent in the corner like Su Xing did. Otherwise, we'll have to suffer from insomnia again tonight. Lu Ning rubbed her brow in pain. He didn't expect the northwest wind at night to be that kind of. Previously, for the sake of convenience, they pitched their tent on the back of a debris wall. Although it was flat, there was no obstruction on all three sides, especially in the middle of the night when a gust of wind blew and it felt like the tent was about to be uprooted. I can't sleep at all. Clean up a debris wall. What about Su Xing's side, Brother Lu? Upon hearing the arrangement, Xing paused. According to the plan, starting this morning, they will keep an eye on Su Xing's every move until they can't hold on and leave the town. No delay, it's not too late for us to clean up a debris wall and then go over and keep an eye on it. Su Xing alone managed to create one in half an afternoon yesterday, and the four of us should probably be around in just over 2 hours. Lu Ning waved her hand. He is really fed up with the constant ringing in his ears. If he continues like this tonight, he will really collapse. More than 2 hours. That's okay. If it's because of food, Su Xing should still be able to persevere today. It may take 2 or 3 days before he collapses. After thinking about it, Xing thinks what Lu Ning said also makes sense. More than 2 hours really didn't have much impact. Chapter 6. Maybe he was lucky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How about this place? In a few minutes, Lu Ning wandered around and picked out a thick-looking debris wall. Okay. Brother Lu, then I'll go get the engineering shovel. Xing immediately responded to the way. He also thinks that this ruins is good, and it should be no problem for 4 people to clean it up in 2 hours. Okay. Xia Kingdom covers an area of nearly 10 million square kilometers, with numerous bustling cities, especially along the coast. Haishur is second to none and is an international metropolis. At 10 o'clock in the morning, when many migrant workers are still working hard to earn rice, Second Ring Road, a revolving restaurant in a super tall office building, a woman with shawl hair, wearing light blue jeans, and an unattractive beauty was staring out the window at a tall building. Across from her sat a young woman dressed very fashionably. Are you resigning and going on a self-driving trip to the northwest? Susu, are you running a fever? What nonsense. In a moment, the fashionable woman's eyes widened and she reached out to touch the other person's forehead. I don't have a fever, I'm serious. The woman, known as Susu, glared at the fashionable girl and then pushed away the delicate hand that was about to touch her forehead. Why? Did someone bully you at work? The fashionable girl couldn't help but ask again. The beautiful woman sitting in front of her is nicknamed Qin Susu and nicknamed Qin Zijuan. She is 25 years old and is the youngest lecturer at Moda Jiaodong University. As long as she publishes a few more SCI articles, she is qualified to compete with the youngest associate professor. No. Qin Susu shook her head. Why is that? Moda Jiaotong University is one of the top universities in Xia country, and many well-known universities Dr. Turtle can't even get into it. The fashionable woman gave Qin Susu a sulky glance. Yuan, you don't know about this matter. Anyway, I feel like if I continue to stay in the Magic City, I will really go crazy. Qin Susu hesitated to speak. The fashionable girl sitting across from her is called Li Yuan, her high school classmate and best friend. What's going on? You're in such a hurry. We're still hiding things from each other. If there's really anything, just say it and let's figure out a solution together, okay? Li Yuan became increasingly anxious. Qin Susu took a deep breath, hesitated for a moment, and finally did not conceal anything. Yuan, you don't know, my parents booked a marriage for me without my consent. What? Betrothal. Li Yuan's voice suddenly increased a lot, causing other diners in the revolving restaurant to turn around and look here. Come back to my senses. Li Yuan also realized that her voice was too loud just now, so she quickly lowered her voice. Susu, are what you're saying true or false? What kind of era is this? Uncle and aunt are also intellectuals, how could they? Really? Qin Susu turned her head and continued to look out the window, her perfect profile showing helplessness. So. At this moment, Li Yuan didn't know what else to say until a long time later when she asked in a low voice, what is it because of? Like the kind of fingertip marriage written in dog blood TV dramas and dog blood online novels. It's not just about getting married through fingertips. It was one of my dad's former comrades in arms, and I don't know who brought it up first. As a result, the two families hit it off. Qin Susu said with a bitter smile. She never expected that one day such a bloody plot would happen to herself. So. What does the man's family do? Another moment of silence. Li Yuan just spoke up. The man's family seems to have a medical-listed company called Su's Medical. Qin Susu thought for a moment and said. What? Su's medical treatment. Li Yuan took a cold breath and said, no wonder. It turned out to be Su's medical treatment. Very impressive. Qin Susu was taken aback. She only listened a little bit sporadically from the mouths of her family, and because she was already very resistant to it, she didn't go to learn about it. Su's medical group is one of the top medical groups in Xia country, with multiple large tertiary hospitals under its umbrella and super strong capabilities. Li Yuan nodded. Others may not be very clear, but as a member of the pharmaceutical industry, she has heard a lot about the reputation of Su's medical treatment. So. Have you seen your fiancé? Awakening, Li Yuan surprisingly had a hint of curiosity. Not to mention anything else, in terms of strength alone, the young master of Su's medical group is worthy of Qin Susu. I didn't see it. My dad asked me to look at the photos, and I didn't either. I just heard them say he's a doctor of turtle medicine. Qin Susu shook her head decisively. Still a medical doctor. Susu, don't say. It sounds like as long as the man isn't ugly, you two are really. Li Yuan instinctively leaned over. What really? Listen to my mom, the man is only 22 years old this year, and I'm 3 years older than him. Qin Susu gave Li Yuan a fierce glare. Years of best friend. Li Yuan knew what the other person was thinking with just one glance. Wait. 3 years older. A 22-year-old medical PhD. Oh my goodness. Li Yuan remained stunned. She has heard a lot from a 22-year-old undergraduate graduate, and it is her first time listening to a 22-year-old medical PhD. What do you think I should do now? Qin Susu looked at Li Yuan. When I heard my mother introduce her diploma, I was a bit surprised, but it strengthened my determination to refuse the marriage. The 22-year-old doctor, this kind of person is either a demon or a pervert. Who is a normal person who can graduate with a PhD at the age of 22? Susu, although this matter is indeed outrageous, you shouldn't. Why don't you take a long vacation outside to relax and wait for a while? Maybe uncle and auntie. For a long time, Li Yuan gave her own ideas. Alas, you don't know how determined my parents are. They seem to have fallen into an evil, and as long as I'm in the magic city, I can't avoid this matter. Qin Susu shook her head again. Can. The atmosphere fell silent for a while, and it wasn't until a long time that Qin Susu spoke again. Yuan, anyway, I won't continue to stay in the magic city this time no matter what. I plan to drive around and then talk about it. As for work, it's not too late to find it after adjusting my condition. Well. Hey, if you go out for self-driving, you must pay attention to safety. Li Yuan let out a long sigh. I hesitated to speak, but in the end, I didn't say anything more. In a blink of an eye, it was 12 o'clock in the morning. Ice Lake Town, Lu Ning, Yishan, and others looked at the ruins in front of them, as well as the abandoned wooden beams, rafters, and large iron nails piled up next to them. The iron frame frowned deeper and deeper. Brother Lu, I didn't expect there to be so much construction waste in the ruins. We've been dealing with it for several hours and haven't finished yet. I really don't know how Su Xing handled it yesterday. Rubbing his shoulders, Yishan couldn't help but speak up. They thought 4 people could clean up this debris in at most 2 hours, but the result was good. It was already noon, and only half of the debris had been cleared. Even during the cleaning process, Lu Ning accidentally scratched her ankle with an iron nail. At this pace, it would be great if we could clean up this ruins today, and there's no more time to pay attention to Su Xing's side. Perhaps Su Xing was lucky enough to clean up the debris yesterday without any construction waste. How about that, Wang Xian, go over there and see what Su Xing is doing. Did he have compressed biscuits for lunch? Let's work on it for a while longer. On the side, after some thought, Lu Ning spoke up. Chapter 7. Even if the livestock have to rest at night. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There is no turning back arrow when starting work. Lu Ning can only grit his teeth and continue to persist. It's his fault for underestimating the difficulty of clearing this debris. He has already cleared half of it, so it's better to clean it all at once. Okay. I'll go right away. Upon hearing this, Wang Xian nodded and then turned around to leave the ruins. Keep going. Raising his hand to look at the time, Lu Ning waved his engineering shovel again. Shit. Time flies for over 40 minutes, or perhaps because most of the discarded large pieces of material in the ruins have been cleared, the speed of the 3 people is much faster than before. A corner of the ruins even exposed red bricks that paved the ground. Brother Lu. However, just as Lu Ning was planning to rest and replenish his energy, a slightly urgent and breathless voice from Wang Xian suddenly came from a distance. How's it going over there? Seeing the situation, Lu Ning and Yishan turned their heads together to look at Wang Xian. Brother Lu. Over there. Why don't you go and see it yourself? It's so. Arriving in front of Lu Ning and others, Wang Xian held his waist with one hand and gasped heavily, exhausted to the point of exhaustion. Going there in person. What's going on? Lu Ning's expression changed and his heart thumped. So. That kid turned yesterday's ruins into a small house. While swallowing saliva, Wang Xian still had the shock and disbelief of seeing Su Xing's situation on his face. What? What are you saying? The ruins turned into houses. Not listening is okay. Upon hearing this, Lu Ning, Yishan, and Ma Chong all spoke in unison, their voices reaching the extreme. Lu Ning even threw away the engineering shovel in his hand. How could this be? Last night it was still a ruins. How long has it been since then? Come back to my senses. Ma Chong held on to Wang Xian, but still couldn't accept it. Speaking of yesterday, it was unbelievable to say that Su Xian had cleared a debris wall and even set up a tent, but today he was told that the debris had turned into a house. Really, if you don't believe me, go see it yourself. Wang Xian immediately handed over a high-power telescope. Let's go. Taking the telescope, Lu Ning quickly walked towards the observation point. Without saying a word, the observation point was about the same distance from the newly found ruins and the place where the tent was set up yesterday. After more than 20 minutes, Lu Ning and He Shan lay on the wall again. To see the situation of the Xing activity area clearly through a high-power telescope, Lu Ning's mouth grew bigger and bigger, and in the end, she became even more depressed and muttered to herself, my goodness. Is this still human? Brother Lu, let me take a look. On the side, the anxious He Shan quickly took a high-power telescope. The result didn't take a moment. He Shan showed the same expression as Lu Ning and said the same thing without saying anything. He even added, call this a wilderness survival novice. The wall built by this grandson doesn't feel much different from those bricklayers. At the ruins where Xing was located, a newly built adobe wall is already level with the other 3 walls, leaving a gap for a door on the roadside. At this moment, through the lens, I saw Xing holding a wooden rafter and trying to put it on top of the broken wall. If the top surface is all paved with wooden rafters, what is it if it's not a small house? I didn't keep an eye on them all morning. As a result, those adobe bricks for building walls are easy to find, but where is the water? Where did this kid get the water from? For a long time, Lu Ning finally regained consciousness. Although there are too many things that cannot be understood and accepted, this matter is real and cannot be changed. Brother Lu, what should we do now? Yesterday when we cleaned up the debris, we could still use his cleanliness obsession to explain it, but now when it comes to building walls, we can't also use cleanliness obsession to explain it. The walls are super smooth, and it looks like they are old hands. It's impossible to learn them by watching videos. The only explanation is that this grandson is pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, or maybe he has deceived everyone. On the side, He Shan gradually regained his senses, his words were both gloomy and gloomy. The more perfect the other party's shelter is, the greater the chance of continuing to stay in the town, and they will have to pay more time and energy for it. You should know that when we first started taking on this job, everyone thought it would take us 3 or 2 days to get it done. It was a job that was easy with more money and less work. That's when we finally arrived at this deserted town. Of course, these are not the most frustrating. What he can't figure out now is that no matter how he looks, Xing is a top-notch wilderness survival expert and even a good bricklayer. Why do they insist on saying that he is a novice who knows nothing? Moreover, Xing's physical strength and endurance are not simple, not to mention normal city people, even manual laborers who work hard all year round may not be able to persist for such a long time under the sun like Xing. Concealing everyone. I'm not sure. The 22-year-old medical doctor is real, and he doesn't have that much time to do anything else. By the way, Xiao Wang, did you see what he was eating when you came over? Lu Ning instinctively stroked her hair backwards. He really doesn't know why Xing would build walls, so he can only call his own chairman later to confirm. This time, he must get all the information about Xing from there. I see it. Under the wall, Wang Xing quickly replied. What did you eat? It should be something like compressed biscuits. After careful reflection, Wang Xing said. Compressed cookies. Whoa. That's okay. From now on, the 4 of us will take turns guarding each other for 2 hours, and we can't slack off any longer. We must keep an eye on every move over there. Wait, start with the pony. Lu Ning breathed a slight sigh of relief. As long as Xing's food is not good, there is still hope in finding the Shuyuan website www.zhaoxuyuan.com. Okay, Brother Lu, what about that night? The telescope's line of sight is not very good at night. Plus, with that kid having a house, once he gets into the tent, we don't even know what he's doing. Ma Chong listened and nodded, but also hesitated. At night. Lu Ning instinctively turned around and glanced in the direction where Xing was. At night, there shouldn't be any problem. This kid does so much work during the day, even a beast has to rest, let alone. That's right. He Shan and others nodded in agreement. On the other side of the town, Lu Ning and Ma Chong couldn't figure it out. In fact, even Su Xing himself didn't expect the progress of repairing the wall to be so fast. This morning, it went smoothly to retrieve complete adobe from other ruins. It's the same as mud. The water was pulled back by a pickup truck from 2 kilometers north of the town. The warehouse behind the pickup truck, which was covered with rainproof cloth, not only did not leak water, but pulling it once was already sufficient and even added some extra. In addition, there is the skill of building walls. On Earth, he can only make ends meet, but today he is so skilled that he can no longer be proficient, as if he had worked for a long time before. In short, the progress is much faster than expected. The most important thing is that I haven't felt much tired so far. It's really strange. It should be due to the waste pawn system that normal people's physical strength cannot last for such a long time. And there is also the skill of bricklaying. But that's also good. I can find time to set up a stove at night. Awakening, Su Xian looked at the sky above the ruins and silently pondered in her heart. Chapter 8. It's okay, buying and selling don't break the lease. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hong Kong is another super international metropolis in Xia country, which is not inferior to the Sea City in terms of economy and other aspects. At this moment, at the headquarters building of Su Group, when Chairman Su Lang was about to pick up a pen and sign the document at hand, his phone suddenly rang. Take a look, Su Lang immediately answered the phone. What's wrong? The next moment, a female voice came from the phone. Old Su, didn't you ask how your son is doing now? When will he come back? Today, Old Chin's wife even called me and said she wants to arrange for her 2 children to meet in the next few days. If there are no problems, she will go and get the certificate. The phone is from Su Lang's wife, Su Xing's mother Tu Pei. Last night I talked to old Lu on the phone, and he said that the conditions there were even worse than expected. He even asked me if Xiaoxing had any experience in wilderness survival. I said definitely not, but Lao Lu said that if not, Xiaoheng can only persist for 2 to 3 days at most. I estimate there will be results tomorrow and the day after. Su Lang casually replied. He is still very confident about Lu Ning's ability to handle things. Okay, you can call me as soon as there's a result so that I can contact Lao Qin's wife. Try to settle this matter as soon as possible. Su is a good girl. After hearing it for 2 or 3 days, Tu Pei breathed a slight sigh of relief. How could her son have any wilderness survival experience? She should be the most knowledgeable person about Su Xing in this world, not one of them. I know. If you come back this time, Xiaoheng will have to listen to us unconditionally. His marriage to Su will definitely be successful. Su Lang slowly leaned back in the chair. To be honest, this time, his son's rebellion exceeded his expectations, but it was only beyond his expectations. In the future, his son will still become a qualified head of the Su family medical group according to his own arrangements. Okay. By the way, there's one more thing. After a pause, Tu Pei's voice came again. You say it. It's like this. Today, the head of a department in Ase County called and said that the abandoned town we rented has already been sold. Did that small town sell it? Does anyone else buy that kind of place? Su Lang was taken aback. They said they sold it to a person named Su Xinchen, but I don't know what this person is using to buy that small town for. Do you think we should contact this buyer? In case he... Tu Pei hesitated and said. She originally wanted to ask for more details, but the other party stated that it already involved privacy and was inconvenient to disclose. It's okay. The sale doesn't break the lease. Besides, it doesn't matter if Xiaoheng comes back in a few days. Awakening, Su Lang immediately became determined. When signing the lease agreement with the relevant departments in Ase County, the lease term was 1 year, clearly written in black and white, so there was no need to worry about what the new buyer would be like. At that time, if Su Xincheng wants to take over early, he will at least give them some compensation. That's what I said, but... Don't worry. It's really okay. Okay then. Are you coming back for dinner tonight? I asked Aunt Zhang to prepare in advance. Okay. In the blink of an eye, it was already afternoon, Ice Lake Town, where Su Hang is camping, up rafters. And mud. Connect the two adjacent wooden rafters together with iron nails, and then apply the mud with grass evenly and evenly on the wooden rafters. Finally, the roof of a small house over 30 square meters has been fully completed. Under the sunset, although the ruins of Xing have no doors or windows, leaving only one entrance and exit, from a distance they are no different from a real flat-roofed house. If the ruins of Xing yesterday were a luxurious shelter for homeless people, today's ruins have been upgraded to demolished houses in remote villages or houses for storing agricultural tools. Did this kid eat 2 pounds of epimedium? How could he persist so much? Far away, Xing slowly put down his telescope. Since noon, the lookout point has never left anyone. They take turns keeping an eye on Su Xing, unwilling to let go of any movement. However, the more I looked, the more shocked I became. Throughout the afternoon, Su Xing was busy with the roof work. I will search for useful wooden rafters in other ruins, crush and mud the abandoned adobe, and smooth it with mud, without rest. Why is that kid still working? Under the wall, Ma Chong asked. Just an hour ago, they had just cleaned up the debris and rebuilt the tent and campsite. I'm done now. I just took out a compressed biscuit, so I should be taking a break. Xing picked up the telescope and glanced again before saying. I'm finally going to rest. Not really. Counting it all, this kid has been working on the exterior walls and roof all day alone. It's really. Fortunately, this kid doesn't know much about cooking and still eats compressed biscuits. Otherwise. Xing pursed his lips. Seeing Su Xing working this afternoon, he couldn't describe his feelings in words, and even at some point, he had a feeling that he was the wilderness survival novice. That kid has taken a break and we can finally relax and unwind. Just now, Brother Lu said to cook instant noodles for dinner. Ma Chong stretched lazily. Although I didn't do much work in the afternoon, it wasn't easy to keep lying on the wall. This kid has been working all day. Even if his physical condition is good, he still needs to rest at night. After speaking, Xing jumped off the broken wall. Zhaoshuyuan.com, let's go. After finishing the instant noodles, let's also have a good sleep. Cleaning up this ruins today is actually quite tiring. Let's go. Under the sunset, Xing and Ma Chong walked towards their camp with great peace of mind, their shadows lingering long under the sunset. But what they don't know is, Su Xing's eating compressed biscuits at this moment is not to rest, but to feel that there is no need to waste time on food and drink until the accommodation problem is completely solved. If there were another door, it would be perfect. Standing outside the cabin, Su Xing couldn't help but regret and mutter to himself. Although the mud on the exterior walls and roof has not dried up, the sense of security it brings far exceeds yesterday's luxurious homeless shelter, and today, when building the roof, the solar panels were refixed. Now light bulbs have been installed inside the house. Although there are no windows, the whole room is very dark, but as soon as the lights are turned on, the inside is very bright. In addition, with various supplies and camping tents placed in the corners, there is a growing sense of home, just a door missing. A pickup truck is ultimately a pickup truck, and even if the exit is blocked tightly, it cannot be compared to a door. It's really strange. In theory, those oil workers probably didn't take the door with them when they moved, but today when they were cleaning up other debris, they didn't see any doors or windows, neither iron nor wood. Awakening, Su Xing picked up the nearby mineral water and poured it into the room. Actually, when I was putting wooden rafters on the roof this afternoon, I thought it would be great if an old door could be flipped out from inside, but it didn't go as planned. The last thing that came out was still yesterday's things. The only difference is the addition of some old household waste. Chapter 9. Two-hand iron doors. You are listening at novel full.audio. Pop. Turn on the lights. Under the light, he glanced around and at the newly repaired exterior walls today. Just as Xing was about to check for any exposed seams between the exterior walls and the roof, he suddenly thought of something and slammed his head. Wait. Really? How did I forget about the pawn system? There are no doors or windows in the ruins, so there must be one in the system. Although only 330 pawn values were saved yesterday, it seems that the system has made many prompt sounds today. Shake your head. Xing couldn't help but curse himself for being foolish, thinking only about working on the exterior walls and roof, and actually ignored this thing. When searching for wooden rafters in other ruins today, every time I find garbage or old things, the system will sound a prompt to indicate that these garbage can be exchanged and ask him if he wants to exchange them. Regarding this, he chose to keep the useful wooden rafters and nails, and agreed to everything else. Anyway, he didn't need to tidy up the things that could be pawned again, just leave them in place. But it's really unclear how much pawn value there is now. System. Schwa. As Xing's thoughts moved, the pawn system appeared before his eyes. The next moment, 502. Xing was taken aback when he saw the number displayed on the duty line of the classic. This number is much higher than what he just thought. Today, when he went to other ruins to look for wooden rafters, he didn't dig very deep, so he didn't find the main beam. I even sold 109 items on duty, which shows that I really sold a lot of things to the system today. System, show me all the doors again. After confirming the pawn value, Xing once again conveyed a message to the system. In reality, although there are doors worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of yuan, there are also those worth a few hundred yuan. I think a pawn worth 52 yuan should be enough to buy one. Schwa. Looking at the panel section of the system mall again, various types of doors quickly appeared, with iron, wood, and alloy panels covered in colorful colors. But looking at the prices of these doors, Xing's excitement just now seemed to have been poured down from the beginning with cold water, and in an instant, half of it disappeared. I saw a whole page of various doors, and the cheapest compressed composite door costs 888 yuan, while the pure wood door has a pawn value of several thousand yuan. Look at the next page again. Taking a deep breath, Xing still felt a bit unwilling and immediately issued another command. However, when the next page is refreshed, the price will be checked again, and there is no difference from the doors displayed on the first page, and the prices are also similar. It seems like I'm overjoyed. If I want to buy a door in the system, I probably need to clean up a few more debris, but there's still tomorrow to do. I don't have time to clean up the debris at all. Subsequently, Xing flipped through a few more pages, and the result was still the same. The cheapest one is still 888. According to the plan, he will continue to work on the roof tomorrow, laying a layer of waterproof cloth on the outside and then adding another layer of mud. There's no way, although Ice Lake is located in the northwest, it is currently July. Who knows if it will suddenly rain? The drought in the northwest is not false, but it does not mean it will not rain. Only roofs that have been treated in this way can prevent rain and freezing. Forget it. However, just as Xing was about to give up, the system suddenly sounded a warning sound, ding, friendly reminder to the host. The pawn shop is comprehensive, and if the host's pawn value is not enough to purchase new items, they can also lower their requirements to purchase some second-hand old items. Ah! Can the mall still buy second-hand items? Upon hearing this, Xing hesitated first and then rejoiced. If that's really the case, that would be great. The new one is certainly good, but at the current level of my own cabin, having a door would be great. What kind of bicycle do I need? Of course. Also, please remind the host that when purchasing items in the system mall, they can directly perform price and function filtering without flipping through pages. Confirm the mechanical sound of the system again. Okay, since that's the case, then find me a second-hand door with a price below 500 pawn value. Awakening, Xing didn't talk nonsense and immediately spread his thoughts. Schwa. The system mall page has been refreshed again, and almost all the doors that appear on the panel this time meet the conditions just proposed by Xing, which is not to mention, in addition to the price, each product is also marked with a few new words below. Well, this is quite good. Take a closer look. Xing looked at one of the first rows on the panel and showed a satisfied expression. The system shows that this door has a pawn value of 400 and is an iron door with a 60% new green belt safety net from the 1970s and 1980s. The most important thing is this door also fits perfectly with the current style of the cabin. Then I flipped through a few more pages. Xing has conveyed ideas to the system, and it seems that this is the most cost-effective option. That's it. May I ask if the host can buy 60% of the new iron gate? Confirm. Xing nodded, but raised his hand to check the time and asked again, by the way, the system, when will it be delivered to me if I buy this door? Installing a door is not complicated. If it can be delivered earlier, perhaps you can enjoy a complete house before it gets dark, and when the door is locked, it won't be too comfortable. Generally speaking, items purchased from the mall will be delivered to the host on time within 6 hours, but if the host is willing to pay more pawn value, they can be delivered to the host in as little as 5 minutes. Soon, the system provides a response. Zhaoshuyuan.com, what? Originally, 6 hours, plus 5 minutes for extra money. You're too. Xing suddenly froze. The sunset has completely set, and the sky is getting darker. What the Northwest lacks the most is various winds, some with sand and some without, and it won't continue just because it was already windy yesterday. The new ruins where Lu Ning and his 4 companions are located, A cool breeze blew by, and the newly lit campfire made a whirring sound. There was also a triangular wooden frame on the campfire, on which hung a small aluminum pot, boiling instant noodles inside. Setting up the tent on the cleared debris is comfortable. Plus a bowl of steaming instant noodles. TSK. Looking at Xing again, he can only chew dry compressed biscuits. Taking a satisfied glance behind him, Lu Ning sighed. Sometimes people are cheap. On weekdays, Lu Ning never eats any instant noodles, thinking that they are the lowest quality food that only migrant workers would eat. After working hard all day today, I found instant noodles quite good. Blowing the cool breeze and gazing at the deep starry sky, there was even a little satisfaction and enjoyment. Brother Lu, that's what I said. But what if Xing insists tomorrow night? Anyway, I didn't give up at all when I saw that kids work this afternoon. And although we brought 7 days of rations, we did heavy work today and consumed a lot of resources. I estimate we can last for at most 2 more days. Speaking of Xing, after pouring a sip of mineral water, Xing looked up at Lu Ning. Anyway, Xing's condition really scared him. He was really worried. They can't hold on anymore. Xing is still fine. How can we explain to our chairman then? Chapter 10, Room 1 is completed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Can we still persist tomorrow? Unless he's an Iron Man. He did so much work today and chewed on compressed biscuits. Seeing Xing worried, Lu Ning immediately waved his hand and confidently said, so, the more crazy Xing's work is, the more advantageous it is for us. But in case. Xing also knows it's like this, but he doesn't know why he's really at a loss right now. When I first entered the small town, I even thought that Xing would surrender that night, and even said that Xing was a flower in the greenhouse. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and they not only had nothing to do but also built themselves a house. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Let's go over tomorrow morning and see if he can wake up normally. Lu Ning glanced at the instant noodles in the pot. At this point, he just wants to have a delicious meal, and the rest will be discussed tomorrow when he wakes up. Okay. Under the bonfire, Sean never said anything more. The night is vast, unlike the vast and tranquil Gobi Desert in the northwest. The sea market, with neon lights flashing and cars coming and going, has just begun the nightlife of young people. At this moment, an underground garage in a residential area within the third ring road, next to a pink off-road vehicle, Chin Susu carefully counted the full trunk of supplies and breathed a slight sigh of relief. Susu, are you really leaving tonight? Do you want to wait a few more days? On the side, friendly Yuan's face was full of concern. In the morning, under her repeated persuasion, Chin Susu did not resign and instead went to school without telling her parents to take a long leave, citing severe depression. The school leader was diagnosed with severe depression upon hearing this, and it was extremely enjoyable to approve the leave. He signed directly. Then came the scene before us. We can't wait any longer. We can't say anything unexpected when we call today. We'll meet over there in 3 days. Bang! Chin Susu closed the trunk. Meeting. That's not enough. If it's really not possible, just meet up. Today, I helped you inquire and found out that the young master of Su Group's chairman is not a pervert. At best, he is a good baby who only knows how to study and has not experienced wind and rain. Li Yuan couldn't help but say again. Do you think it's just a regular meeting? Actually, it's similar to an engagement banquet. Besides, there's no need to go see such a good baby. He's 100% a mommy boy. Chin Susu's gaze became increasingly firm. Now she has an idea, to hide in a place that her parents cannot find and the Su family cannot find, and live a few days of peace and quiet. She will come back when things have turned around. Ah! The engagement banquet. It's too urgent. Li Yuan was taken aback. So, we have to leave tonight. If we don't leave again, it's really too late. Chin Susu raised her hand to look at the time. So. Where are you planning to go? I'll come over and accompany you when I have time. Awakening, Li Yuan sighed helplessly and advised Goe, but if this matter were to be placed on her head, she would probably make the same choice. Many people envy the life of wealthy families, little realizing that their children also have their own helplessness. I plan to take a walk along the Northwest Ring Road and stay for 2 more days when I see the place I want to stay. If I don't want to stay, I'll switch places. Chin Susu shook her head slightly. She really didn't figure out where to go, it's just a place with fewer people, taking a step by step. The Great Northwest Ring Road. Don't go to uninhabited areas. That kind of place is super dangerous. Li Yuan hurriedly reminded again. Don't worry, I will definitely ensure safety. Chin Susu knew that Li Yuan was worried about him, so she immediately gave him a reassuring look. Okay then. Let's go. Communicate on the phone at any time. If you don't answer the phone within 2 minutes, I will call the police. As the night deepens, at 2 o'clock in the morning, even in the bustling sea market, the vast majority of citizens and office workers fell asleep and began to rest and prepare for the next day's work life. However, in the small town of Bingu, under the pitch-black night sky, Xing still hasn't slept. At this moment, he was screwing screws the thickness of his thumbs into the reserved positions for building the wall, and next to him was a green iron door. Try again now. After the screws were completely inserted into the wall, Xing moved the iron door over and began to install and mark it at the hinge. A few hours ago, he bought a second hand iron door from the system. In order to save pawn value, he didn't add any money until he waited for more than 3 hours before waiting for the iron gate sent by the system. The way the system sends iron doors is more mysterious than imagined. As he was moving inside the house, he heard a crisp sound outside. When he went out to look, the iron door, keys, door frame, tools and accessories for installing the iron door were already placed at the door. So there was a scene before us. It's done. After another moment of pounding with tools, Xing tried to push and pull the door leaf, and breathed a slight sigh of relief. The door frame has been perfectly fixed in the reserved position, and there is no problem with the door leaf closing. Now, as long as the door is closed, the shelter is a complete house. The most important thing is that the door and exterior walls are super sturdy, and human labor cannot push them unless equipped with equipment. I don't even need a campfire now. I tried back and forth several times. Xing looked at the bonfire pile next to the house. Although there were solar-powered lighting in the room, for safety reasons, he still started a fire outside. Now it's good. Look for Shuyuan. www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Close the door and lock it from the inside. It's so safe that it can't be any safer and keeps warm, let alone set an alarm to add firewood to the campfire while sleeping. Click. Close the door, return to the house, lock it. Looking at the camping tent inside the house and the pile of houses by the wall, Xing felt an inexplicable sense of achievement. A day ago, he was still sleeping on the ruins. But now that you have a real house, no one will believe it even if you say it. Finally, I can rest. The rest of the work will continue tomorrow. Awakening, glancing at the waterproof cloth placed in the corner, Xing yawned and finally felt a hint of fatigue and drowsiness. Night is still that night, but the bonfire is no longer that bonfire. No one is going to add firewood to keep it alive, only sporadic snoring could be heard coming from the cabin. However, it was only 5 o'clock in the morning, the eastern sky was still dark, just revealing a hint of fish belly white, and there was no snoring coming from the cabin anymore. After a while, the door opened again and Xing walked out full of energy. I've only slept for less than 5 hours, but I feel even more energetic than I used to sleep for 7 or 8 hours. It's just a sleeping bag and tent. If there's a bed and bedding inside, the quality of sleep is probably higher. I raised my hand and looked at the time, then at the sky. Xing muttered to himself. After installing the door last night, I just got into the tent and fell asleep. I woke up now. Of course, Xing is well aware that all of this is due to the pawn system. Without the system, he would have gone against yesterday's labor intensity. One have to sleep for at least the whole day today.